Welcome to Showing Up Solo with Hannah and Nicole, your guides to navigating online marketing for your business.
Hello, thank you for joining us today. We are joined by Lisa Hemingway and Madelen Ortega of iilo Creative Alliance, an inspired communication design solutions for change makers. Lisa, Madelen, would you like to tell everyone a little bit more about what that actually means and entails?
Sure. You want to go, Lisa?
Sure. Yeah, we're a communications design agency. We work virtually, as many of you do now too, but we've been doing this for over a decade and collaborate together with other creatives and produce awesome graphic design and communication solutions for people who are really on a mission to change the world. I totally went off script there, Madelen, but I'm sure you could say that more succinctly.
Yeah, I think, the most important thing about our business is that we're values driven. So we really look for clients and team members who share our values around being authentic, doing good work, not being too attached to how we get to that work, and just having a lot of humility around finding the right solution for clients. And our ultimate goal is really to produce really solid communications and design work that will help them deepen their impact in the world. So, our mission is to help our clients further their mission, whatever that may be. We are focused on kind of social and environmental sustainability, supporting in that realm. But within that, those two larger groups, there's so many different types of work happening. And that's part of what we love to do, is the variety of helping all kinds of different kinds of clients. But first and foremost, we want people who we really click with and we feel that, we can help them further their mission. So, and I think the other important thing to know is, we come from being freelancers to, now we're together building this agency, and there's a misconception that agency work is more expensive. And we've I think we feel in the market the sweet spot of, you get agency quality with us because we all come from the agency world, but you're not paying those super high prices. And Lisa and I are working in the business. Like, we touch every single project. And yeah, so we're really, we're we want to become the go-to people for the change makers in Canada. So.
Yeah, that's incredible. I was noticing on your website that you're a benefit company.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how would someone go about working on their branding? What would be the first process that you would suggest?
I just wanted to say about the benefit company too.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people won't know what a benefit company is.
Yeah.
So please.
It is a relatively new business model in BC. And all it means is that you're tied to a mission, which I think, after working for clients who have missions in environmental and social sustainability, it just feels like a no-brainer that our agency should also be tied to our mission. And whether we're working independently or together, we're all trying to help progressive impact businesses simplify and amplify. And so they can do even more of what they're doing. So registering as a benefit was just a way for us to kind of tie in our values, and to keep measuring what matters to us as we go along. You have to report annually on a few key metrics around your brand, and for us, one of them is simply how many mission-based businesses, what percentage of our revenue is from a mission-based business. So just wanted to explain that because I was pretty excited when we learned about the benefit company.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, so becoming a benefit company, we're still an incorporated for-profit company, but we're not just driven by the desire to make money. We're also publicly committing to helping to make impact in the social and environmental sustainability space. You have to actually, when you incorporate, you have to specify what area of, what kind of impact you're making in the world, basically, and then publicly report on that, as Lisa said. So
wonderful.
It's different it's not a nonprofit model. It's for-profit businesses. So
that touching on what Nicole was asking, you have such a unique niche in the sense that your ideal client is someone who is looking to better the world, make an impact. How do you go about reflecting that and those values in a brand? Like, how does one get that across?
Well, we usually start the process with what we call a discovery session, where we really dig in with clients and learn, whether it's a nonprofit organization with a huge board or whether it's a sole proprietor. You're looking at what are the values that drive the business. So you want to really establish what we call a brand platform. And I know Madelen can talk a little bit more about this, but it really starts with who you are and what you care about. Usually that's why someone's created a business. They don't always talk about it, but just really getting clear so that people can really understand that it all kind of comes back to their values, and they can choose to make decisions based on those as we go. So we usually go through that process quite like as the first engagement with a client.
I just want to add to that, you know, for your audience of solopreneurs or, you know, solo businesses, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to know what your vision is or what your values are when you come to us. Like, a lot of the process sometimes is they don't know, and then we help them get clear. So there is a level, there's different degrees of clarity really. When we start with the client, sometimes they come to us because they've had a strategic shift and now they want to focus on something else. But, you know, with smaller clients, sometimes we help them define, you know, what their mission is, what your values are, and that's, you know, kind of working through language there. So we can provide that clarity as part of the discovery process. So
it always ends up feeling a bit like coaching, because sometimes you're pulling things out, realizations that people haven't had before, which is really fun for us. And then getting to write that into their brand standard becomes really inspiring for them ongoing. And in the past, we've done like, you know, manifesto posters or like, you know, mission statements that will hang on in the offices of clients' walls. And even for solopreneurs, it can be really inspiring to just keep coming back to, oh, right, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is why, this is my why. So kind of capturing that why. And then, you know, getting those communication pieces out, like your vision, your mission, and your brand promise, just getting those really clear so that it makes everything else you're doing so much easier.
I have to say, I mean, obviously I've worked with you two previously before you were iilo, and I have your brand manifesto from your previous iteration on my wall. You can't see it in frame, but it inspired me to decorate my wall with branded imagery, because it, in my office or cloffice space, because it inspires me to remember why I'm showing up. And I think that's the power of making sure you've explored that and then found a way to represent that both through words and visually. It kind of is a regular reminder of why you're doing what you do.
I think as entrepreneurs, it's powerful to have that, even though it's a simple little poster in your wall, but it really, when you're feeling overwhelmed or it's just too much for you as a solopreneur to take on or to tackle something, coming back to that why, it's the driver behind why you get up, why you're doing everything, right? And who, you know, the services you're putting out there and who you're serving. So it's super important to have those reminders to yourself, and whatever those might be, right? Like even sticky notes. Like if you look behind my screen, there's a lot of sticky notes whenever something comes up that's inspiring. And like our mantra for this year is like, let's make it easy. Like whatever we're trying to do, when we go down the rabbit hole of like, you know, exploring something, I'm like, oh no, we're getting too complicated. Let's make it easy. So whatever, you know, those reminders are for people when they're in that exploration stage, you know, I think it's powerful. Also, solopreneurs often have their plans in their head, right? And, you know, your mission and vision and values, it all relates to your business plan. And often you're just working in the business without anything documented. So the awesome thing that comes out of the discovery process is the creative brief, which outlines, you know, what your design challenge is, what your mission is, who your target audience is, your brand personality. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit more, Lisa, because I feel like that piece of the creative brief is the most powerful one, and then that dictates the next steps, right? So
yeah, definitely. And I love that we try and position the creative brief as like exciting, because a lot of people are like inundated with documents, but what's exciting to us is the focus it creates. And after exploring a wide variety of values or even goals, like people have a lot of goals, you have to write things down in order. And you can only have one primary objective and 3 secondary objectives. And it gets really clear. And so we've created a bit of a template to help get that clarity. The most exciting part I find is the kind of personality and tone area, where we get to kind of decide what your brand feels like. And this can be full of like keywords around who you are and what your business wants to feel like. So that's where we get to have a little more fun in interpreting that. So after we have that creative brief, we start to look at what does that actually look and feel like visually.
It's really nice to hear you explaining this in like a holistic way, because a lot of times people think of brand as just the visuals, whereas you're explaining it as in your values, the way you want you to feel, your ideal clients to feel. So it's more of the feeling that you're trying to give someone, rather than just like the pretty aesthetic that you want them to see.
Well, and a lot of our clients will come to us with values around environmental sustainability or diversity and inclusion. So how, the creative brief starts to tell us, how are we going to integrate those values? So how are we going to show up that we care about the environment? We're going to look at paper. We're going to look at minimizing waste. We're going to look at inks. We're going to look at using printers that are close by so we can minimize the mail load and the carbon footprint overall. But we're also going to look at, in terms of diversity and inclusion, we're going to be looking at making sure that they're actually using images. Maybe we're looking at BIPOC makers, trying to really bring in, like the other day I was researching a font for Black History Month. I'm like, no, we need to purchase a font by, a Black designer. Like that feels right. So I think the values really do carry through into the way that we tackle the design challenge, and it makes it more meaningful, which I think we're always really interested in.
It's more than just using green.
Yeah.
Show it's
you want to connect it, and
I like that it's in the execution of the brand as well as the aesthetics and the voice. Like it's very much like an overall let's practice what we preach.
Well, it's in the details of what you're doing, right?
Yeah. And I think it makes the work more genuine. Like when you're saying, we want to be inclusive, we look at the whole supply chain of where are those opportunities, right? So, and then I think that gives our clients a better story to talk about their brand. Like, oh yeah, we worked with, a BIPOC designer, or we sourced this from whatever. Like I think thinking through the whole, everything that touches your brand or could impact your brand, like that's our job to think about it. And sometimes we don't have the answer to, and I think that's a fair thing to put out there, that we're, especially around accessibility, we're learning, it's the standards are changing all the time. And, we actively are constantly trying to educate ourselves about what are the latest standards. But also sometimes we don't know. And that's okay. We say that to clients, like, we're not sure, we're going to research that and get back to you and make a recommendation. So we really want clients to make informed choices about how they execute their brand. And sometimes we are stumped, and then we research it, or we go to our colleagues who are the experts and they advise us. So
last year we worked on a website for accessible employers, and it was a great project, because it was possibly the most challenging from this needs to look great and function super well, because it's a public facing membership driven group with business owners, and it needs to be really, really accessible, which kind of scared us and kind of and also kind of excited us, because we all dove right in, and we had a team of five of us, I think, working on that website. And we went to an accessibility conference. We learned so much, and then we got to apply it right away and test for some of the solutions that we'd come up with. So it really stretched us all, and we always love those opportunities to learn how to do accessibility better.
I will say this, that the iilo Creative Alliance team of creatives, you're all such big nerds in the best sense. You are always sharing learning opportunities, ways to, like, you really do. It's throughout the whole business. Is I found this great thing about accessibility, or check out this great resource on how to show up in Black History Month, and like there's just all these different. Anytime you find something to learn, you share it, and everyone gobbles it up. So
one of our values is we feel like when we empower other people with information or support, like everybody wins, right? So like we're collaborative and inclusive is one of our core values, and we really try to live that. Yeah, I think it's important to share when we come across something cool that we can all benefit from. And we're not into, even though, yes, we're all in this space trying to get work, but like we look at people as potential collaborators as opposed to looking at them as competitors. Because at the end of the day, we might end up having to work together to get to the right solution for a client, right? So, and our belief is there's plenty of work to go around for everybody. And I think as a solopreneur, when you're thinking about your brand and, there's often brand conversations around how do you position yourself against your competitors? And like, we obviously do competitor research when we're developing brands, but the ultimate goal is like, how can you sit beside these folks and see them as complementary to your business, or, not necessarily,
or inspire them.
Exactly. So it's important to have that competitive edge, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to be the best that you can be. And the more that you know yourself and what you can offer and align your brand to be as genuine as it can be to who you are as a solopreneur, I think that's where the success is. It's not, outperforming your competitor. It's showing up as the best you, and then putting out your brand that best aligns with who you are and what service you want to offer. So that genuine piece, I think we focus on that a lot as a company. And I just want to give one quick example of, we're in a rebrand process right now with a client, and she started to show us like, here's my favorite blanket and my favorite mug, and like, I love this picture. So sometimes when we're looking for inspiration, especially around solopreneurs and freelancers, it's not just like, which color palette do you like? Sometimes that's a way to look at colors for people. It's like, well, what do you wear every day? Oh, I wear pink, I wear black, or, so I think looking at your aesthetic when we're thinking about colors, and obviously Lisa, jump in, but I love that this exploration with this client has been very organic, and she has shown us things that literally this is my blanket on my bed, this is my favorite jacket, all of that has helped us come up with a really cool color palette that's clicking for her because it feels natural to how she lives, right?
Well, and that's part of the kind of serendipity in the way I like to share too, is just like, you never know when that inspiration is going to hit for someone and they're going to run with it. And it's going to be that extra bit of excitement in their day. And like, I feel like that about the way we do discovery too, because if we hadn't spent time with our clients, we wouldn't know. Like, I think in that meeting you were mentioning, we had like come up with a color, and she's like, this looks exactly like my favorite lipstick I've worn for 15 years. I'm like, okay, like,
we want to see,
but,
and
but also like, it just feels like you wouldn't know if you don't spend time with people. And there's a certain amount of serendipity that if something feels exciting, share it, great, cool, and that just kind of more to go around, more excitement. So
yeah.
I love hearing about this process because it makes it more personal for someone. Like, your business is your baby. And so why not make it more about like who you are and what makes you you, instead of just like making something because you think that's what will
well, and I always tell, if we're doing nonprofit branding, it's not about the individuals. And we do remind everyone in the room that it's not about you and your favorite color, but for solopreneurs, why the heck not? It should be about you. It's so much fun to get to shift into the actual person, and that's what you work with, right? Because you are your business in so many cases, but also make those colors accessible. So that's the lens we come through. We're kind of creative, but also very practical, and certainly the learning from around accessibility in the past few years has been has been great, because I think we've been committed to sustainability for so long, but diversity and inclusion is really a really big part of sustainability under the social and social realm of sustainability. And we've become a lot more diligent about weaving that into our process for all of branding. So whether someone asks us to or not, we'll weigh in on the contrast ratio and make sure that, you know, hey, this isn't going to work well for someone who is light colorblind, or someone who has dyslexia. Like, it's important for literacy, but also important for just to meet accessibility requirements. I'm that annoying person that will definitely tell you about it.
I know I'm the annoying person who, whenever you come up with a design, I'm like, dyslexic person.
Yes.
Here.
Super important, right? And I think that's the other learning that Lisa was mentioning earlier, that, you know, your brand isn't just the visuals, it's your language that you use. And, you know, one of the things we've become really aware of is, like, obviously in marketing, it's always about speak simply and keep it short. And that's great. But also putting that lens of, like, what if somebody with a cognitive disability is looking at this? Will they understand my thought? So I think the challenge is how to help brands communicate complicated things in a simple way. And, you know, using easy ways to format things like bullets, or, you know, 2-sentence paragraphs, and very simple language, and the flow of a document, or how long something is. Like, we think about all of that when we're working on a design for a brochure, or, you know, especially something that requires longer copy. We try to recommend solutions that will allow someone with any kind of disability, whether it's cognitive or physical, to access what we're designing. And I think the beauty of the project that Lisa mentioned, the Accessible Employers one, is we got to test that out with actual folks, and you know, they showed us where the gaps were, and then we fixed them, and then we tested and retested. So I think that's one recommendation we would have, if you have the budget, because that does involve paying people, and taking the time to put something in front of a client, testing it out, and then perhaps revisiting it and then testing again. When the budget allows, we highly recommend, like, going to the people who are going to look at something and testing it. So.
And on the other end of that too, just keeping it really, like, the easiest thing you can do is the color contrast checkers. Like, Adobe has one built in now, that there's a new one there. And there's so many of them online now, like, at least do that. So that's a very minimal thing you could do.
Very minimal. Yes, I know you can just Google contrast checker and find out if the colors that you're using are easy and comfortable to read.
Yeah.
Versus they may look nice, but they're very difficult to read if someone's colorblind, or
I'll send you a link to
Berlin's. Yes.
Yeah, if you can share that, we can put it in our show notes for.
Yes.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I know we could talk about this for hours. It's such a great topic, and like, obviously you are so passionate about it. What I would love, just before we finish the show, is what would be your advice to a solopreneur who's starting out and trying to realize their brand? Like, they don't really have anything pinned down, and they need to do something themselves to get started on their marketing. Maybe they're not quite at the stage where they can hire experts like you. What would be your top tips for them?
Madelen?
I think, you know, going back to our, before we owned this business together, we were both freelancers and solopreneurs for 11, 12 years. And it took me 2 years to get my brand, my actual logo and my graphic assets on my website. And because I needed to get money flowing in the door. So I would say, and the other thing that we did to build our brands is I bartered services. Like, Lisa did my design, and then I wrote her website, and I worked with a web person who I did project management for him for a year while he designed my website. So I think look for opportunities for others to help you. You know, you're an expert in what you do, not necessarily, and you don't have to be a marketing expert. For sure, you have a network of people who can help you. I would say get clear on who you are as a as a business owner and what services you want to offer and get working. And so you can have the funds or the time to dedicate to building your brand, because it's a very intentional process. You don't want to just slap something together for the sake of having something. It's better to not have a business card or just have a one-page landing page until you can take the time to build out, your website properly and to really be intentional about your marketing. So I would say start with intention, get clear on who you are, and that might take some time as you're starting out, and that's totally okay. At the end of the day, you are your brand, and as long as your email signature is clear and people know how to reach you, and LinkedIn, use tools that are available and easy for you to start with. And then when you're ready and you have time and budget, then you call us,
Totally. And we'll make you do our worksheet. We do have a worksheet to help you kind of fill out the gaps of your brand platform. So we like to give this as a bit of homework for new businesses to help them get focused. And obviously we can do a more robust process when people don't know how to fill it out. That's a different conversation. But sometimes that's just a good place to start, is knowing which questions to ask. And another idea, just from the visual perspective, if you're, obviously you need to focus on your service offering first and foremost and do a good job. Like I built my previous business, Backyard Creative, 100% on referral. I didn't have a website for 3 years and I built other people's websites. Like that is how I think relationships first has always worked well for me, and like making sure that you're hearing the needs of your audience and meeting their needs first. For me, marketing has always come second. It's not make or break, so don't stress out about it. You'll get there.
Someone's not going to hire you because you don't have a website. They want to hear what you have to offer, and that's why I'm saying get clear on your offer before, and what you're talking to people about before you package it right through a brand.
Yeah. And then the other idea of something that would help get you in the visual mindset, like collecting images that feel right. I think this is part of the process we explore with our clients too, is just collecting what feels on brand to you or what you're attracted to. Can be vision boardy, kind of loosey-goosey, or you could get a little more focused and, have subfolders around themes that have come up. Sometimes I'll make way too many subfolders when I'm exploring the brand connections, but the thematic connections that you will have because of whatever your brand name is sometimes it's obvious to you, it's not obvious to other people. So start collecting that stuff so that when you are in a position to hire marketing experts like Hannah and Nicole, or branding experts like Madelen and I, you have something to share with them.
Excellent. So would you like to let our audience know how they can get a hold of you if they're ready to work with you, and more about how they can get in touch, basically?
Oh, Lisa, go. Me?
Oh, yeah, sure. we're pretty easy to find our website. Yeah. Who's gonna go? Yeah. Our website is only 4 letters, so hopefully it's easy to find. iilo.ca is our website. And you can sign up for our newsletter there or download our branding worksheet I mentioned earlier. Madelen and I are also available through email. That's probably the fastest way to get a hold of us. So
yeah, you can email us at connect.iilo.ca. So connect@iilo.ca.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that your branding worksheet is available as a free download, because I feel like that is such a fundamental step to really get the process started.
Yeah. And it's helpful on its own, even if you don't work with us. So it's cool. The more the merrier.
Into the world like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a great episode, hasn't it, Nicole?
I feel like our listeners are going to have so much value out of this conversation. So thank you for joining us. That was wonderful.
Thank you for having us. This was super fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you so much. Until we see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
enjoyed this episode? Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future ones. Want more from Hannah and Nicole? Visit showingupsolo.com to join the Showing Up Solo membership or to inquire about working with us on your business.